All right, so we're going to finish up 2.7 notes, part 2. We should be all on example 3. Remember, yesterday we were dealing with problems where you had a projection, right? Something was being thrown up in the air. So these two examples are a little bit different. They don't have to do with things being thrown in the air. They have to do with measuring area of something or rectangle of something. Okay? So example 3 says one side of a rectangle is 3 feet shorter than twice the other side. Find the sides if the area is 209 square feet. Now, typically in the past, when students read story problems like this, they just say, I'll just skip this one and go on. Okay, but you're in Algebra 2, and so we're going to figure out how to master this and get a hold of this, all right? The first thing I would do is draw a picture, because in math, pictures are incredibly helpful. So let's draw a rectangle. It says one side of the rectangle is 3 feet shorter than twice the other side. Do we have anything to know about the other side? Do we know anything about the other side? Okay, so let's start there. The one that we don't know anything about, we're going to call what? X. Okay, so let's just make one side X. Now we have something we can work with. What is 3 feet shorter? How do you think we would symbolize that in math? What's 3 feet shorter mean we should probably do? Subtract 3 from something, right? So we're going to have a minus 3. So we took care of the 3 feet shorter. What is twice the other side? How could you represent that? 2 times x. Good. So we're going to put that in front because we're taking 3 away from whatever 2 times x is. So now I have something that represents each side. It says the area inside is 209 square feet. Excuse me. We talked a little bit about this yesterday when we were doing our Accuplacer review. What is the formula for area? Do you guys remember how to find area? Base times height, length times width, side times side is really what you're doing. Okay? So let's remind ourselves the area is length times width. What did they tell me the area was in this problem? 209. Okay, so we're going to put that in for our A. What's the length? Okay, does it really matter which one you call length and width? Because we're going to be multiplying them, right? If we're multiplying them, what is 2 times 3? What is 3 times 2? So if you're multiplying, does it matter which one is which? No. Okay, so let's just put the x first. Times 2x minus 3. Is this a problem you can handle? I would say yeah. What do we need to do first, do you think? Good. Distribute the x. Okay, so let's distribute the x first. And this should look familiar to us now. What do we have to do when we have a quadratic? The first thing is to do what? Set it equal to 0. So we're going to move the 209 by subtracting it. So we'll subtract 209 to both sides. 0 equals 2x squared minus 3x minus 209. And now what happens? Factor. How do we x factor this? Is this one where you can just take the... Say that a little bit louder, Tahish. Multiply a times c. Okay, so if I'm multiplying a times c, you all should be doing this in your calculator. What is 2 times negative 209? Negative 418. So what two numbers multiply to get negative 418 and add to get negative 3? Okay, 2 bonus points for the person who can find them first. Go. Find your factors. What two numbers multiply to get 418 and add to get a negative 3? Raise your hand. Don't just shout it out when you think you have it. Come on. So you should be doing like 418 divided by 2, 418 divided by 3, 418 divided by 4. Kyle?
19 and 22.
Both positive?
No, 22 is negative.
All right, 22 is negative. Way to go, Kyle. Negative 22 and 19. I am writing it down right now. Kyle, 2 points extra credit. Excellent. Okay, so now you know your two factors. So I want you to take a minute and factor this. This is a review of factoring, so you should be able to do this part. 2x squared minus 3x minus 209. Remember, when we factor this, the first one comes down, the last one comes down, and the middle gets split between the two factors that we chose. Negative 22 is going to go better with the 2, so I'd put that one first. I'm trusting you to do it. What do I do with these factors now? What do I do with each of them? Good. Set them equal to 0. What are we finding, though? What's that problem asking us to do?
On the other side.
Find the sides. Okay, so when I set each of these equal to 0, I get x to be 11. But what happens over there with the 2x plus 19? When I set that to 0... Yep, go ahead. Divide by 2. And I get negative 9.5. Is there a problem with negative 9.5? Why can't it be negative, Chelsea? What are we talking about? We're talking about a rectangle, right? We're talking about the length of a side. Can you paint negative 8 feet of wall? That doesn't make sense, right? Okay, so the negative answer is not going to work. So we don't even need the negative answer. The only side we want is 11. Now the problem is asking me to find both sides, and if I found x to be 11, that means I only found this side over here. How are you going to find the 2x minus 3 side? No.
You plug in x.
You plug in x, right? If you know that x is 11, can we just plug x in here and find this other side? Okay, Josh, do it for me. Because you said you were going to give up, so we're not going to let you give up. 19. Ooh, 19. Anyone agree with that? 2 times 11 is 22. 22 minus 3 is 19. So this is 19 up here. What should our sentence be, Justin? I'll start it for you.
Nah. Never guessed that one. The missing side is 11 feet long.
Okay, but it said to find the two sides, right? It said find the sides.
The missing, so the sides are 11 and 19 feet.
Perfect. Are 11 and 19. Thank you for putting your feet in the problem.
Long.
Okay, long. The sides are 11 and 19 feet long. Excellent. Okay, questions on that? Setting it up is probably the hardest part. Okay? So let's look at example 4. On example 4, okay, it says the area of a rectangle is 1,260 square meters. Find the dimensions of the rectangle if we know that one side is 48 meters longer than 3 times the other side. Okay, so this is almost an identical problem to example 3. So let's start the same way. Draw a rectangle for me. One side we know nothing about, so we'll call that side what? Okay. We know that the area is 1,260, so I'm going to put that on the inside. I've taken care of this. One side is 48 meters longer. How would you express that in math?
X plus 48.
We're going to add 48, right? We're adding 48 to something. If you're 48 meters longer than something, that means you're adding 48 to something. Meters longer than 3 times the other side. How could we represent 3 times the other side, Austin?
3x.
Perfect. So we have 3x plus 48. All right, why don't you see what you can do? Remember the key word there is area. Right, so we have our area formula. See what you can do based on what we did last time. When you get it set equal to 0, I want you to pause. No calculators yet. Okay. What's our step here?
Greatest common factor.
Ooh, interesting. We should be x factoring, right? But 3 times 1260 is going to give us like almost 4,000, and that's a big number to try to x factor. So instead, do you guys agree that 3 is the greatest common factor? Let's check to see that 3, now you may use your calculator. Does 3 go into 1260? What'd you say, 420? Now, what do we do with this 3, though? Do you agree that this 3 is being multiplied on this side? So we can divide by 3 and divide by 3, and what happens? What's 0 divided by anything?
0.
So essentially our 3 just goes away. We can think of it that way. So I have 0 equals x squared plus 16x minus 420. With your calculator, 2 points for the person who can find the two numbers that multiply to get negative 420 and add to get 16. You need to tell me the positive and negative number.
Negative 21 and 20.
Thank you for raising your hand, but that is not correct.
Wait, no.
You burned your chance. Let's see if you're right.
Negative 30 and
Thank you for raising your hand. What did you say?
negative 30 and positive 40.
That is not correct.
That's not right.
Negative 30 and positive 14 is not correct. Anthony?
Negative 14, positive 30.
Negative 6 or negative 14.
That is correct. Positive 30 and negative 14. Anthony, way to go.
Brownie points.
I deserve the points for that.
Well, except that we've been doing this for 3 weeks now.
Because I really didn't even know that. You had to give him points.
Okay, well, I did mine on my calculator. Give them back to Kyle. Throw them over here.
Oh my goodness, Anthony. All right, here you go. Go ahead and factor this for me, please. 30 and negative 14.
You don't have to do anything right because there's nothing pretty right.
Okay, so you can take the shortcut, yes. Some people still like to split the middle, and that's fine. if we're dealing with side measurement, which answer do we not want to use, Colt?
Negative.
The negative one. Okay? So this one doesn't work, so we want x equal to 14. I know then that one of my sides is 14. Quentin, if x is 14, how do we find the other side? Okay, so look up here where my drawing is. Okay, so if I know that this side was 14, can I take my x and plug it in here? All right, so let's do that in our calculator. 3 times 14 plus 48. Hortensia, what'd you get? 90? Did anyone else echo 90? Good. Okay, so our sentence is going to be what? Emily Harris.
The one side is 48, 90
Okay.
meters long.
The two, let's say the two sides of the rectangle. And you said are 90 meters, is that what you said?
Yep.
90 meters, and then what's the other side? 14. Now, in the event that the problem asks you for perimeter, hint, hint, okay, perimeter is done a little bit differently just because it's a different formula. Do you guys remember the formula for perimeter?
Height.
Thought you just added the sides.
You could add all sides, but perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. There is a reason I'm giving you this formula. Make sure you read your questions in your homework carefully. Okay? 2 times length plus 2 times width. Okay, any questions about example 3 or 4? Okay.